Welcome to Finest Work Songs. My name is Matt.
My name is also Matt.
Matt, we're back in the room together.
Exactly 6 feet apart.
We have a friend who's 6 foot tall who's just laying down in between us.
Good to be back in a room with someone.
It does feel a lot better to be live rather than doing FaceTime.
Yeah, this is a little more conducive to reading body language, and now we don't have to worry about finishing each other's
sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to be in person.
Yeah.
You all hanging in there?
Oh, I left my family weeks ago.
Oh.
Yep. I've been camping out at Moore Square Park and
nice.
Just living off the land.
Yeah.
As God intended.
That's right. I know it's in there somewhere, but I can't remember which commandment it is. It's leave your family.
During times of crisis.
During the worst time that they could possibly be going through and go find yourself.
We're hanging in. These are such weird times that we're in. I'll use the most overused word of the year, unprecedented times.
I hadn't heard that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trademark. I'm thankful that we're still able to record a few epipods remotely. Let's see, which ones were remote? We got The Cure.
The Cure.
Beatles.
Live?
Nope, Live was live.
Live was live?
Live was our last live.
Okay, yeah.
Was it just Cure and Beatles?
Janet Jackson.
Oh, and Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Matt, I don't know if the people know that you run our social media and you do a great job and you put out clues leading up to each epipod.
Yep.
There are times when you'll put some clues out there and I'll think, no one's ever going to get that.
Right.
And yet...
I got to give a couple shout outs here on some of the clues that people have actually correctly guessed. And leading up to our Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation 1814 epipod, one of the clues was just some military men. I think it's from a movie. I don't remember what movie it was from.
Yeah.
Immediately, loyal listener John Stevenson chimed in. He's like, Rhythm Nation. Whoa.
That blew my mind.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Of course, he also was the one who correctly guessed. We did a social media contest coming out of the Cure epipod where we had somewhere in the middle of the episode whispered promotion of a certain soft drink. Mm-hmm. He got that one too. So he has like a beautiful mind. Yeah, that's it.
Is he the beautiful mind guy?
He is the beautiful mind guy. And
just not seeing other people. He's just got a beautiful mind.
That's right. He'll be getting a handy Finest Work Songs t-shirt coming his way when it's not like frowned upon to send things through the mail.
Is it frowned upon right now? Should I stop sending bats to people?
You should. You should probably stop sending bats.
All right.
Send me back your bat.
Yeah, John, impressive work there with the code breaking.
One other thing, sort of social media related, one sort of personal goal we've had, or at least I've had for this season, is to get all of our episodes to 200 downloads. It actually means absolutely nothing. Almost like the Mendoza line in baseball. It just kind of sounds good. It's a nice round number. For the most part, we're getting there. So there are a couple of epipods that have not reached that magical threshold quite yet. So
you're gonna shame some people?
I'm not shaming the people. I'm shaming the listeners for not getting us there. Let's help us get our epipods on the National and Neutral Milk Hotel. Get those over that finish line.
Matt, what will you do if all our epipods get up to 200? What will you do?
I will eat a bat on this show.
That sounds a little dangerous. How about if we get to 200? The listeners get to pick what you eat at Arby's.
Come on, Big Montana.
Is that a listener or is that something you could eat?
That was my nickname in high school.
And it'll make me happy to watch you eat
cheese
some Arby's.
Just roll down my chin.
Yeah, I'm going to film it.
Slow motion.
Instagram Live. That'll go viral. And by that, I mean it'll start a new virus that gets spread. Matt, this actually is a podcast where we talk about great albums.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
right.
So we should probably get to that. What album are we covering today?
Today we are really excited to talk about an album that just turned 25 years old, The Bends by Radiohead.
Oh, man. This is one of those albums. Where do we begin? I feel like this should be a three-parter.
This one is so freaking hard to find any fault whatsoever.
Well, as always, we like to start with our memories. Matt, what is your memory of Radiohead, the Bends, or just Radiohead in general?
Probably like 99% of the world. My first introduction and interaction with Radiohead was when Creep came out and was such a massive hit. That would have been, what, 93?
Yeah.
So I was a senior in high school. That was one of those songs that lyrically you're just like, that speaks to me as a angsty high school kid.
Especially early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is when grunge, self-loathing, and introspection was popular.
It still had enough nuance to it that it was not like everything else you heard on the radio, but it obviously became a huge hit.
It was that Jonny Greenwood.
Yep. Creep was so big. I kind of dismissed them as a one-hit wonder at that time. I didn't get into the Bends 2 years later, 3 years later. I actually have to give props to previous guest and my wife, Charity, for really introducing me in a deeper way to Radiohead. She was into them more than I was. Actually, when we started dating was when OK Computer came out.
Yeah.
And we were still on the tail end of a time when MTV showed videos, some.
Right.
I remember Paranoid Android video was on a lot. That's to us sort of a song that we think about relating to the early days of our relationship. I sort of backed into the Bends because I missed it, when it initially came out.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to get to know the entire album from start to finish. It's just fantastic. So what about you? What's your memory of the Bends?
I grew up around the sea, but actually I would not go into the sea because I was scared of it. I had lost my father at a young age in a boating accident. The seaside town I lived in was extremely pleasant. Each person was kind. I knew everyone. They knew me. Everyone was very supportive of me. And I felt like I was kind of the star of the show. My life was going along just fine until I started to notice some weird things happening. One day I looked up and saw a stage spotlight fall out of the sky. And I started to ask questions like, what else is out there? I kind of started wanting to travel and wanted to maybe explore even the ocean. Things started getting real tense with my wife. She left. But I decided that I was going to do whatever I could to get out of what was quickly becoming a nightmare. I was able to sail my boat, almost died and drowned from the storm, but I was able to get to what was a wall in the middle of the ocean. And then a big voice came over and tried to get me to stay in this world that I had lived in. I found out later this was the producer of this fake world. And the voice came over and, he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "It was the fake plastic trees." If you'd had a higher production value and had real trees.
They could create a storm in the ocean, but the trees were still crap.
Yeah.
That's bad.
They underestimated my acumen. And then the guy said, "Listen, when you go out there, there's this band called Radiohead, and they've got an album called The Bends. You should check it out." So I said, "Thanks, mystery voice."
Every time that you do one of these memories, they just keep getting dumb and dumber.
My real memory of the Bends is, like you, Matt, I had heard Creep, and my friend who lived in my neighborhood that I'd give a ride to school, Rob Noble, every day would hop in the car, take the tape out that I had in, and put in Pablo Honey because he wanted to hear Creep particularly. And so, hey, that's in my Ford Escort with my bass cannon.
Nice.
So that, you get to that chunk, and it was like hitting hard.
It was intense.
As long as I had the lights on so that the bass cannon was activated. But that was it. As I mentioned before, in college, I went down sort of a musical path of just more acoustic-based music, Vertical Horizon and Dave Matthews Band and Guster, who I still love Guster. And I joined this band later in college. I ran track at JMU, and I had injuries that ended my career. And around that time, I got a phone call from a friend from high school, and she lived in Richmond. And she said, "I'm putting a band together to play this show. Would you want to join in?" And I just ended tracks. I don't know what to do with my time after all these years, so I'm going to jump into this. So this ended up being a weekly thing where I would drive to Richmond on a Thursday. We would play this bar 3 hours. And then often I would drive back from Richmond to Harrisonburg, would get home about 5 a.m. In this particular time, two of my roommates were into Radiohead. So I grabbed the Bends for the drive. And I'll never forget driving back 3 a.m. I'm heading over Afton Mountain and I'm listening to the Bends and the song Bones comes on. And I hear the tremolo slow down. And then I realized that he is manually slowing this tremolo down. It almost felt like a new world was opening up. The box that I'd placed recording and guitar and music in, there was something that said, you could do whatever you want. That just blew me away when Jonny Greenwood did that. And then this whole album, especially his guitar playing on this album, captured me. And that was a turning point for me out of a lot of that music that I'd listened to. Yeah, Jonny, for me, broke all the rules. It's funny to think, too, that he was the kid brother that was an afterthought in the band. Mm-hmm. They formed in Abington in 1985. Thom and Colin, I think, were the earliest in there. Colin plays bass. They got Ed O'Brien, and from what I heard, one of the reasons that Thom liked him is that he looked like Morrissey in terms of his style, you know? And then they convinced Phil Selway, who was a year older, to play with them. And their band was called On a Friday because they practiced on a Friday. Sure. I feel like we need to do an Epipod just about all the early band names that bands had.
That would be a fun one to do.
Yeah, because On a Friday is just terrible. And they started talking about if they were scheduled to play on a Thursday, you know, this Thursday here on a Friday. Like, what?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they were able to get past that. But yeah, Jonny, this genius guitar player, was Colin's younger brother and just wanted to be in the band. And finally, Thom let him come on stage and play harmonica on a song.
Nice.
This is also the time when they had horns, so.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to know what Radiohead sounded like back then.
No. Well, they weren't. They were on a Friday.
That's true. So let's jump in. The band known for Creep, with that being kind of an albatross hung around their neck. This quick stardom where they're this English alternative band playing that MTV Spring Break. Playing Creep, it seems like they were kind of stuck.
Out of their element.
Yep. But they go into the studio. They put together the Bends, which starts with Planet Telex. Sang this one after they had gone out and basically drank a lot of wine, and he sang it lying down in the studio drunk. It sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it does. Anytime I've been lying down trying to talk or anything, you're not nearly as full-throated as obviously standing up. So to get that from lying down, not a bad night's work.
Way to go, Thom. The songwriting on the Bends is way better than Pablo Honey, and it makes you wonder if Pablo Honey had just been an EP, a couple songs that a band put together and then got signed after that. What if this had been their first full length? I think it speaks more to who they were. Then you also wonder if they really were pushed into a direction musically by the success of Creep.
Right.
Hard to say what a band would become without what they experienced early on and throughout their career.
You think about a band like Weezer and their response to the Blue album was to create Pinkerton.
Yeah.
One school of thought that it's their greatest album ever. And then there are others who would think it's unlistenable,
Yeah.
And so you probably wouldn't have the Bends without Pablo Honey and the success of Creep. If nothing else, we should be grateful that happened.
I mean, Creep's not a bad song.
No, not at all.
Creep was what it was. They didn't want it to blow up, and the rest of the album wasn't as strong. One of the things that is impressive about Radiohead is 3 guitars, and they're never playing the same thing.
No.
Oftentimes, Ed is playing some sort of lead, but he gets out of the way of Johnny and all his noises. And if Johnny takes the lead, then Ed's doing some noises. I mean, they're incredibly talented.
Yep.
Even Thom, when you watch him play, I mean, it's not just give that guy a guitar and let him strum.
Right.
I mean, they play some really unique stuff.
Coming off of the success of Creep, obviously there was a lot of pressure to follow that up. And commercially, the Bends wasn't like a huge hit initially. I think even at one point, the label even threatened to drop them.
Gosh, can you imagine?
Hindsight is often 2020 in these discussions about these great albums.
Yeah.
There's this pivotal breaking point where the album's just never going to get made, or band's going to be dropped, or the band sort of caves to pressure and
goes commercial.
And reworks everything. And, who knows what that would have looked like. And so, again, just very close to probably not having the Bends as an album.
Thank goodness those wily record executives didn't get their way. Next track is the title track. This is the Bends.
Nothing underneath. Who are my real friends? Have they all got the Bends? Am I really sinking? They're slow. Baby's got the Bends. Oh no. We're not having any real friends. No, no, no. Just lying about with the drip fit on, talking to my girlfriend, waiting for something to happen. I wish it was the 60s, I wish we could be happy. I wish that something would happen. Where do I go from here?
Stop. I don't know where to stop.
Right.
I can't stop. I just want to listen to the whole song.
I know, right? Where we stop there. I mean, to me, that's like the first indication of the Radiohead sound you're going to hear from here on out. This ability to kind of take a song that's catchy and could have been under a different producer and a different ethos, like a poppy song, but then throwing in sounds and a different percussion and just so many different noises that are going on.
Yeah.
That's Radiohead, and they do it so well. And they're really one of those bands that you should listen to with headphones on. I'll never forget listening to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band with headphones on, and at the end of a day in the life, if you listen long enough, you hear like him get up.
Yeah.
And Radiohead is full of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Listening in your car, even with the volume cranked up, you're not going to catch those nuances and those sounds.
Have you heard what those noises are at the beginning?
No.
They were on tour, and there was a kind of a marching band, but it was like 8-year-olds. And then there's this like band director yelling at these kids in what seems to be a over the top way, you know. And so Thom has some sort of field recorder and goes out and records the guy. So if you listen real close, it's kind of like this tink, 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 you know, and then the guy goes, pick it up. Like he's like yelling at these kids, but that's what starts the bends.
There you go.
Yeah. I wonder if any of those kids grew up and listened to the bends and was like, wait,
that's old man Thompson.
Yeah. He was so mean.
And he's now immortalized
for being a jerk. Is this song about Tom's grandmother? Because he says baby's got depends. It seems a little insensitive to sing about.
Okay, I see where you're going. No, it's actually a weird narrative where he's writing about when they finally make the Dirty Dancing sequel 30 years later, and Baby has depends.
Yeah.
That's
at that point, you're more than welcome to put Baby in the corner.
Yeah,
because if she's going to be doing her business, put Baby in the corner, please.
I'm sure it was like really sad when they tried to reenact the Patrick Swayze picking her up over his head, and they're both in their 70s.
Or they did it where she's in one of those wheelchairs that has the slowly
it goes up the stairs,
going up the stairs like in Gremlins, you know, and so he's kind of waiting there, and she's like going up real slowly. No, I know it's the bends, which is, I think, very clever on their part. What scuba divers suffer from if they come up too quickly without depressurizing. The idea that Radiohead rose to fame too quickly. So that's what they're suffering from, I think, is very clever. And also Tom was really shook up by that rise to fame. They were really messed up by getting famous for just one song. And maybe they were fearful that that would be it for them.
I think it hit them a little harder because for a while, even with the success of Creep, they were probably in somewhat of a bubble being where they were. I remember him saying, they would see people around wearing like Creep t-shirts and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they fully expected and realized how big it had become until you're, being introduced at MTV Spring Break. And
that was kind of the moment that juxtaposed who they had become. And it was just so awkward. I remember watching it. I don't think I saw it live. I just remember they played it over and over again. And it just seems like these guys look so out of place and awkward right now.
Yeah.
Also, aside from Ed, they have a different look. Ed is like standing in the back, 4 inches taller than everybody and looking like Morrissey.
Right.
So he always kind of stands out to me. Shouldn't you be off playing polo, Ed?
Right. I don't know if you remember SNL years ago when they did like a Michael Bublé Christmas duet.
Oh, yeah.
And who was it who played Tom?
Who was it that
Yorke?
did Tom?
Oh, it was Fred Armisen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Almost like having like a seizure dancing.
That's right. That's right.
Like he nailed it. It's not like he's got this smooth, prototypical frontman stage presence.
And that's part of what made them look so out of place at MTV Spring Break, where these dudes over there like doing push-ups before they say action, except for Ed. I wonder if it ever bothered Ed that he was so good looking.
Yeah, right.
Or if they made fun of him. They're like, look at you, pretty boy.
Pretty boy.
Yeah. The next song was the first single released from the Bends. This is High and Dry.
Jumps in a week, but you think that's pretty clever, don't you, boy? Flying on your motorcycle, watching all the ground beneath you drop. You kill yourself for recognition, kill yourself to never ever stop. Broke another mirror, you're turning into something new or not. Don't leave me high, don't leave me dry, don't leave me high, don't leave me dry.
It's kind of surprising to me that wasn't a bigger hit. It's got a very singable chorus.
It was included to be a hit, and I think it didn't deliver.
Right.
Apparently, it's an old song, and I found an old version of it where...
Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Yeah. Tom's band Headless Chickens recorded it.
Headless Chickens?
Yeah, and you can actually go on and someone uploaded a video of his band Headless Chickens doing it, and it's terrible. It's in like 1988 though. So it's interesting to me to hear a version of the song thinking that he wrote that long ago and that the melody was still intact, but he does not like this song. They haven't played it since 1998.
He still doesn't like the song?
No, he said it's very bad and they weren't into it. In fact, I think he brought it to Radiohead early, like Pablo Honey years when they started, and they dismissed it as being too Rod Stewart. Which
it does have a Forever Young kind of vibe to it.
Got a little Maggie May in there. My sister went and saw Rod Stewart when I was growing up.
Does she think he's sexy?
I'm sure she does. I think I was 4 or 5 years old. The thing I remember is that he kicked soccer balls out into the crowd.
Oh yeah, he's a big Celtic fan, I think.
When I remember
Did he kick
that,
them hard and he like bust people's like lips?
That's what I'm saying is I remember that now, and I think you could never do that now. Someone would sue you instead of just enjoying getting a soccer ball kicked at their face by Rod Stewart.
A Rod Stewart feel to it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Too pretty? Too clean?
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
I mean, it's pretty and clean for Radiohead. If other bands of their ilk did it, still be, I think, even more clean and prettier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still got their stamp on it.
I think it felt like a ballad to them. I'm guessing that's what they meant by Rod Stewart with what they were listening to and what they wanted to do. I don't think this fit. To us, it fits in the bins because it's on the bins and we're used to it. I'm guessing, too, if you've had a song for 7 years and it's never worked and you guys keep dismissing it and then the record company makes you put it on, you're probably not that into it.
Right. But it does kind of break up the album a little bit, too, with all the noise and the kind of angst.
But Fake Plastic Trees does that, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Did you know it's about Evel Knievel?
I assumed it was.
Yeah. I think the lyrics are great. The idea of being in midair, watching all the ground beneath you drop. Then it's so sad about the fame that he achieves. And his end is just being all broken up, wishing you could still make love. So he's got the fame, but he's not happy. It's a downer of a song, even for Radiohead.
Right. God, man, Evel Knievel, I mean, he was the man.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
There couldn't be an Evel Knievel now.
No.
Now everybody who's got a phone wants to film themselves doing a stunt can do it. It wouldn't be impressive at all.
Well, we've bemoaned the downfall of MTV and their departure from videos, but we should probably also give thanks to Evel Knievel, because without Evel Knievel, there's no Jackass.
That's true.
Not to get too much on the departure, but that was even before smartphones. Now, anyone with a smartphone is a jackass.
Right.
Essentially.
Literally anyone.
I mean, I am a jackass because I own a smartphone.
Yeah. Next song on the album is their biggest hit off this album. It was the third single released, Fake Plastic Trees.
The green plastic watering can for a fake Chinese rubber plant and a fake plastic girl. Which you bought from a rubber man in a town full of rubber plants to get rid of itself. The world's around. The world's around.
So the video for this one, they're in the supermarket, and they're all in, what would they call them, buggies?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Buggies.
shopping carts. I guess being pushed around, all of them, which is funny because especially Ed is like 6'3" or something.
Right.
He's huge. And, maybe he's actually only like 5'11", but the other guys are so short, but he looks so tall. It's funny to think that they probably had an extra big one for Ed. But yeah, they're just being pushed around and he's singing. They had said that half the song is Thom and an acoustic, so they couldn't have the band just standing around.
Right.
So, naturally, put them in buggies, push them around the grocery store.
This is one of those songs that you feel like has been or could be omnipresent in like dramatic TV shows. Like Grey's Anatomy would use it. So I was trying to find, like, where all has this song been used? And I'd forgotten that it was in Clueless.
Yeah.
It was a sort of a way to say, oh, you're cool and you're in the know.
Yeah.
If you know Radiohead.
Well, it was the one character in that movie that was into alternative music. Wasn't that Paul Rudd?
Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Paul Rudd's one of those actors that I don't know why he's so beloved and famous. And I don't mean that I don't like him.
I think he has a kind face. Really wonder if it's that. I mean, and has he ever really played like a bad person?
Famous people treat him like he's super famous. And I guess he is. I just don't understand it. Again, I don't dislike him.
Right.
It's just, it feels odd to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they used Radiohead as an example of substance in that movie. Fun fact about the video, Norman Reedus of Walking Dead fame was one of the people pushing around the shopping carts, I found out. Wow. I obviously didn't know that, but as I researched this epipod, I found that out, which is pretty cool. Did you watch Walking Dead?
We've watched the first episode of it and really, really liked it.
I think the pilot is incredible.
And I don't know why we didn't watch any more. I mean, we really did like it. That's the blessing and the curse with streaming is, shiny thing over here. And then you get into watching Kimmy Schmidt, and next thing you know, you're 2 weeks in, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot about Walking Dead.
Yeah. I ended up getting into it. I don't do scary. I've mentioned that before, but there's some things.
Kimmy Schmidt's not scary.
Well, I mean,
she's in a bunker, I guess. For a while.
Right. That cult leader is terrifying. While I don't do scary, the post-apocalyptic appeal is strong. Although the funny part is so you've seen the pilot. If you would go to, let's say, season 4 and just turn on any episode in the middle, the zombies, I don't know what it is, they get so much more slow and lethargic.
Really?
In that first episode, it's like Carl Lewis sprinting at you. They are like they're like the Terminator or something. And then later on, they're kind of wandering into trees, zombies nearby, and the people are just kind of hanging out talking like, oh, there's a zombie. You're like, yeah. I mean, it'll be 2 minutes before he gets here, so we've got time to finish our conversation before we have to kill him. But that first one, it's like, you remember, they're just sending on him, and he's in that tank and everything. So it is funny how they maybe decided it's going to be a hurdle in the plot if they're always that powerful and strong. So part of the difficulty with these tracks is that we are listening to the beginning of a lot of them, and we're missing when Jonny comes in and does his amazing work. And so this next song, we're just going to jump right to the meat of it. Oh my gosh. I mean, he's got like 3 solos in there. They build and build. It's so intense. Gosh, I love it so much.
And it's not all about speed.
No,
It's intensity. It's building up.
It's musical. It fits within the song. The
Yep.
best solos aren't just some dude just shredding.
Joe Satriani.
Satriani or Steve Vai or something. Gosh, I've got a Steve Vai story for you.
Who doesn't?
So there was this guy, and he was a really accomplished guitarist and like worshiped like Steve Vai and that sort of thing. And he came over one time and he had a hatchback. He opened up the hatchback and was able to plug his electric guitar into his car stereo. And so he's sitting there in my driveway just going to town. This guy's ready wherever he goes to show off. And also one time we went to Busch Gardens with a youth group trip, and this guy gave cocaine to a goat.
That same guy?
Yeah.
All right, what happens to goats when they get cocaine? The goat created like the greatest like album of all time.
Doug was with me, and we've talked about that memory. We were like, remember when that guy, A, had cocaine
At a youth group.
at a youth group trip and gave it to a goat? Doug thinks that it wasn't cocaine after all. But I don't know. He pulled out a little white vial of something. Why would you carry that around with you?
When the whole Enron thing was going on, and Jon Stewart was still hosting the Daily Show, he was doing a bit about Enron and their process for covering up stuff. He made a comment. He said these lackeys at Enron would take all the papers into an off-site facility that they called the Shred Palace. And he goes, incidentally, is also the name of Steve Vai's house or Joe Satriani. It was one of the two. And of course, the image they put behind is of like him like shredding on guitar, making like the ultimate guitar face. You know?
Yeah.
I love the idea of the Shred Palace being name of their house.
Yep. But yeah, back to Jonny Greenwood. He's got more creativity. And it's not just about what Johnny's doing. The band serving him behind him, Phil's snare playing along with part of that solo at different points. It's a song that they're creating. It's not all about Johnny, although he is a genius. Have you ever seen the video for this one? Do you remember the video?
I don't remember the video for this one.
So the whole video is subtitled. It's Radiohead. They're in an apartment. There's a man walking through the city. He basically just stands there, and in the next shot you see he's laying on the ground, and a guy trips over him. And the guy's like, get up, and the crowd kind of comes around. A cop comes over, and they're trying to implore this man to stand up. Like, what's wrong? Why don't you just tell us? You're kind of like, what's wrong with this guy? This is creepy. Meanwhile, Radiohead's playing up in this upper apartment. It gets to the point kind of where this guitar solo is about to start, and the guy's like, you want me to tell you? And they're like, yes, tell us. He's like, you really want me to tell you? Yes. He said, God forgive me for telling you, and God help us all. And then all of a sudden the subtitles drop out, and he's looking up at them and starts talking. And you don't know what he says, but then there's a camera shot over the sidewalk, and every single person in the crowd is just lying down in these weird positions. And it's a big mystery. What did the guy say?
Right.
They've sworn that they'll never tell what the guy said to make everybody lie down.
A blood oath.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. I love those little tricks and mysteries like that. One of my favorite Monty Python bits of all time is the funniest joke ever written, where the guy writes a joke that's so funny that he literally dies laughing. So then the British Army starts using it in war against the Germans, but so the Germans have to try and come up with their own killer joke. And there's a clip of Hitler like standing in front of like a crowd, and he says, how does my dog smell? And then some Hitler youth yells, how does he smell? And Hitler goes, awful. And they all like laugh. And, I'm sure I butchered it, but that was always a mystery. Like what
was the joke?
They say it in German. So like the British, you translate to German, so they don't know what they're saying.
Right.
But the Germans just die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those kinds of things are just always fun.
It's so cool.
And it's completely reasonable that they don't know what the guy was saying.
They claim they do.
Right.
So obviously it's not some big secret of the
Right.
world. It's probably just like, the beef and cheddar at Arby's is delicious. London Bridge isn't falling down.
We actually really like Creep.
Yeah, that's right. Mike Love is the heart and soul of the Beach Boys. Everybody falls down.
We love Mike Love's caps.
Oh, gosh. Nobody's fooled Mike Love. So, Matt, we were going to talk about My Iron Lung also, but we are running out of time.
Or even Bones, which is probably my favorite song on the
album.
Yeah? But that's today. I mean, tomorrow,
right?
It might be Just.
We painted ourselves into a corner because in every Epipod, we challenge one another to remove a song. If you had to remove a song, this has been the most difficult one yet, but we're going to go for it. So let's say that Radiohead is threatening to play Creep at your kid's birthday party at the beach and depress everyone unless you take a song off Creep. So if you had to, Matt, what would it be?
There are so many songs, again, that start one way and go a completely different direction than you think.
I already hate what you're going to say because I realize that there's no right answer to this.
There isn't. I mean, this is really the hardest of the albums we've done.
Yeah.
If I had to take a song off, it would probably be Bulletproof.
I hate that you said that. I was going to hate whatever you said, but
right.
It's true. I hate it.
Right. 10 minutes from now, I'll probably think, oh, God, it shouldn't have been that one.
Yeah. So you had to decide, though. So what made it be Bulletproof?
I went back and forth really between that one and Nice Dream.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about both of those that they don't capture my interest as long as the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I was inclined to say, Nice Dream, because my initial recollection of that one was that it got boring.
But then you listened to it.
But then I listened to it.
And the ending of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can't take that one off.
That's right.
So it was just almost by default. I mean, I had to pick one.
Yeah.
So it was that one.
Okay.
What about you?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Fake Plastic Trees. And maybe it's because it was such a radio hit that I felt it doesn't fit as much with the soul of the album, but it's not true. Every song fits. So anything I say is not going to be. Now, I don't want to lose the impact Fake Plastic Trees had on getting people to find out about Radiohead and helping them become popular. But there's something about it that feels a little bit like a ballad. Ed talked about the first time they tried to record it. It was like bombastic, like November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
Right.
I kind of felt like it was a ballad that could be left off.
You son of a...
I know. We didn't get to every song. We didn't even get to the brilliant rhythm section that is Colin and Phil. There's so many things that we didn't get to. And so we're just going to have to continue talking about Radiohead. We'll have to do OK Computer. And we would love to hear, listeners, what you guys think of the Bends.
Yeah, thanks again for listening to this episode of Finest Work Songs, and thanks also to everyone who has engaged with us on Twitter, Instagram, at Finest Work Songs, Facebook. We love hearing from everybody, calling out our stupidity sometimes, and telling us what albums you'd like to review. Please keep that up. We just love the interaction with the listeners, and there are so many great albums out there. So much fun to do this, and it's good to be back in person again doing it.
Yeah, it's good to see you in person, Matt. We'll be back soon with another Epipod. You guys stay safe, stay sane, and until next time, we hope you follow the recommendations of healthcare professionals and stay at home, and also support your local economy by ordering takeout. Our theme song is by the incredible band Medium Heat. This track is called Radio, and you should check them out at mediumheat.bandcamp.com. They are on Facebook at Medium Heat Music.